Hi. Today I'm sitting down with Shane Dolinski, qualifying broker and lead of elevated real estate services at Realty1 of New Mexico, a five-star premier ABQ team that's closed well over 250 transactions all across Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and the surrounding areas. With more than 25 years of investing in Albuquerque real estate, from Airbnbs to rentals to personal residences, Shane brings both a consumer and an investor mindset to his clients. So we were talking earlier about your experience, right?
Yeah.
Been in the real estate game for a couple years, 6 years, correct?
Yeah, I've been a licensed realtor for 6 years, but I've been playing with real estate for, I don't even know if I want to admit it, but like 27, 28 years, quite a while.
That's right, since the 90s, right?
Yeah, late
90s.
90s, yeah.
So a lot has changed, I take it, since the 90s.
Oh, yeah, lots changed. When I first started, I moved back to Albuquerque, and I wanted to become a realtor, but you had to sign up for school, and it was a couple of months, and I didn't really have any cash, so I just got a gig selling cars, and did real well, made a bunch of money, and was like, I don't need real estate because I'm making a bunch of money. But in retrospect, I wish I would have, because I'd be in a much better position than I am today, which is still a great position, but real estate's always been in my blood for sure.
Cool. And so I take it, of course, you started off as an agent. You're a broker now, correct?
Yeah, there's two types of brokers in New Mexico.
Okay.
It's an associate broker or qualifying broker. Every associate broker needs to be under a qualifying broker. So I'm actually a qualifying broker with a small team here in Albuquerque.
Okay. How many agents do you have hanging their license?
I have 7 agents, including myself, on my team. I also have a virtual assistant that helps me with a lot of my social media stuff, and a compliance officer, transaction coordinator as well. So
Right on. Oh, wow. That's
and
a
growing
lot.
too. So yeah.
Neat. Okay. Yeah. We're booming here, aren't we? In Albuquerque.
I think like, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, as far as booming goes, like, we're hovering around 4,000 licensed realtors here. In my tenure, I've seen as high as 4,300 and as low as 3,900. So I think it's been pretty consistent. And COVID certainly got a lot of people jumping on because it was so easy to sell a house during COVID, which it was. Houses were selling over price. They were selling before they got on the market. It was craziness. There was a time where we had just barely over 600 houses on the market for the whole Albuquerque, greater Albuquerque area, which is just ridiculous. Today we're sitting somewhere around 2,700, but I think we've lost some realtors too because they realize, oh shoot, I do have to kind of work.
Yeah.
I do have to prospect. I do have to do some of the things,
True, right? I guess it was fish in a barrel then,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And I guess the interest rates were great. Everything was great.
All
right?
the perfect storm for a super motivated sellers market. For sure.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. We've seen it low, right? Like we talked about with the pandemic. We're seeing it, I guess, kind of high or stabilizing. Right now, is it a good time to buy?
Yeah, I think stabilizing is the right word, right? We're at about a 3-month supply. Average over the course of the last 40 years is 5 to 6 months supply of houses here, residential. So I think it's still geared towards the sellers, but not necessarily as much. There's not as many buyers in the market too, and I think interest rates have a lot to do with that. Interest rates are, hovering in the high 6s right now, which is better than it has been a year ago, but still, I think there's a lot of people on the sidelines. So it's now a good time to buy. So honestly, like when people ask me that, they ask me in COVID, before COVID, after COVID, they asked me 10, 15, 20 years ago. My answer is always the same. Yes, now is always a good time to buy, because in 3 years from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, history has shown us that real estate appreciates. There are blips that will cause real estate to retract a little bit, but in Albuquerque, even those blips are so infinitesimal. Real estate is definitely attractive, and even if rates are higher, like last year when rates were in the high 7s, mid 7s, some of my clients were like, should I buy or should I just wait? Well, the thing is you can always refinance the house. You can't refinance the price, right? Once you buy at this price, that's where you're at. If you wait a year and rates come down a point, but the average appreciation is 4 or 5%, the house has gone up by $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in that 1 year. Are you really saving anything? you're really not. So, and you're not building any appreciation. You're not building any equity. So the answer to that question, for me at least, is now is always a great time to buy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you add on top of, just renting, right? Your money's going nowhere, right? We were just talking about that, right? Ultimately, right?
So you're always paying a mortgage. Somebody else's or your own.
Or your own, exactly.
There's benefits to home ownership too. You can write off the taxes, the closing costs. When you build equity, you can refinance that to purchase more investments, which is what
Use
I
it to leverage opportunity.
Exactly. Yep.
And speaking of that, right, you're also an investor, right?
Oh, yeah.
You own residential and commercial, or just residential for the most part?
I own residential, single, multifamily. So I only play in the residential playground right now, although I am starting to look into investing in commercial. I'm just it's outside of my comfort zone. So I've actually talked to several commercial realtors and looking at a couple of properties and trying to do some research on that. But my forte and what I assist clients with, my wheelhouse, is anything residential.
Now, what's the benefit of residential? It seems like you're leaning towards residential. What do you like about it?
Well, I know it, right? You're comfortable with what you know. Well, I live in a house, so I know about that. Residential, people need a place to live. So you should generally, if you price your rentals right, you should have it rent it out and have people paying for your mortgage. So you're building equity while they're paying to reduce what you owe, your debt service, your overall mortgage balance. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of rental properties. I do a lot with short-term rentals as well. Airbnbs and VRBOs. I'm the community leader, co-community leader for short-term rentals for Airbnb in New Mexico. So I think that's a really cool spot too, where you can host somebody from out of the city, out of the state, out of the country, and give them a true Albuquerque experience, and give them ideas of things to do. I mean, our city is so freaking beautiful, and we just really need to exaggerate that. And I think we get a bad rap. Some of it's true, but my rating's super high because I give my guests just a great Albuquerque experience. Some of the things that I love about our home,
I love it. And in your first investment, first property, when was that? Was it here?
Yeah. So the car business was great because I was making gobs of money, and I, always wanted to invest in real estate. Bought my first house. The next door house went for sale, and I'm like, well, it's right next door. This would be a great investment because I can look over it. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I put an offer in. They laughed at me because it was kind of a low ball offer. 6 months later, I put the same offer in. This is back in '98, so the market was very different, and they accepted it unhappily. But yeah, that was my first investment, and rented it out for several years. Found a renter who wanted to buy it, bought it from me, and I made $50-something thousand, which was still a good chunk, but it was huge. Back in 2002 when I sold, and then I used that money to purchase my first flip.
That's awesome. Now, we were talking earlier too about your staff, and you mentioned something about a virtual assistant. Uh-huh. Now, that's a whole new ballgame, huh? You now having the technology at your hands, right, to kind of help with these property management, transactional coordinating, everything, right? Is that how's that playing into your game?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are virtual assistants that you can train to do whatever facet of your business you want. For me personally, I thought social media was super important. And so I had him build me a social media profile and post and be relevant. And so when Matthew started with me a little over 2 years ago, we didn't know what we were doing, so we kind of started doing that. Since then, I've got 4 social media site pages now. I've got, I do life coach. I'm a certified life coach. So I've got Shane D, coaching. I've got Shane D real estate. I've got me. And then I've got my team, Elevated Real Estate Services. And so, yeah, like having that person do the social media content for me and do the email blast and do the CRM follow-up stuff. I don't have time to be effective doing that. I'm not good at that. So I think for me, one of the things that I've really learned, especially most recently, has been to be able to, be able to give the work to people to free my time. Delegation is so important in leadership, and being able to delegate properly, inspect what you expect, and let them do what they do. It's been a game changer for me. Like you said, Lucas, that was super important for me. And now I'm training them on how to be, my sales manager, how to follow up with my team to help them be more successful with their follow up with their clients. So yeah, it's been an evolution. It's been a great one.
That's awesome. And that seems to be the way now, right? It's like all your people are AI driven or virtual assisted, right? In some way or form, using technology to drive their workload. And you expect that, right? Because it's either right, get on board or get left behind. And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said that any cleaner. That is absolutely the truth, especially in real estate. There's a lot of realtors that fear that we're going to be replaced. And it's a tangible fear. Like, there are companies out there like Open Door that if you've got a heartbeat and you say you want to see this house, they'll give you the code, they'll let you in. So the value of a realtor is being diminished by companies like this. I am trained to look at things in a house that you would not look at in a house yourself if you're not experienced doing it. I am trained to negotiate a deal in what's best interest for my client. I'm trained to work through inspections to make sure they're not buying something that has issues. I'm trained to liaise with a title company and with a lender. All of these things come from experience and training that you just can't do on your own. Can you buy a house on your own? You can. Yeah, you don't need a realtor to represent you. Should you? Probably not. I mean, they say that most people who for sale by owner, their net is about 12 to 13% less than if they used a realtor, and that's after commissions and compensation, because the realtors know what they're doing. This is what we do for a living. So, but the use of AI and the use of technology should absolutely help us. Like in any other industry, I think AI, you turn a blind eye to it all you want, you will be left behind. You need to embrace it and utilize it to help you with your business. Not to replace you or to replace your staff, but to help you with the holistic aspects of your business, like following up with clients.
Yeah. I think you said it best, right? Where it fills in the gaps to where you can be attentive for the important stuff, right? You can be there for, like you said, the big bullets, right? The things that matter most, and you don't have to worry about filing this and that right now, or yes, or if your transactional coordinator's coming in all the time, right? You never know, but okay. Back to potential home buyer. Okay, I'm a potential home buyer.
Okay.
With me and the kid's mother, right?
Sure.
Had a good job for about 5-6 years
Okay.
now. What are we looking at? What do we need to get into a house? What are we looking at down payment? What would you recommend if we're and first-time home buyers too?
Okay, great. I work a lot with first-time home buyers. I say about 50% of my clientele is first-time home buyers, and I love working with first-time home buyers for a lot of reasons. The best part of my job, my career, is closing and handing the keys over to somebody who's actually buying a piece of the American dream, buying a piece of their own future, generational wealth. Like I get goosebumps just talking about it right now. But if you're a first-time home buyer coming to me, my first question is always going to be, what's important to you in your next home? What are you like? Tell me some of the must-haves and don't care as much about and don't want. What's the location? What's motivating you to buy a house? Like some of these things are pretty basic. So that's listening in any sales realm is the most important thing. What's important to you? When I find out that information, when you tell me what's important to you, it gives me a good idea of where we're going. But then the next question, and it's probably as important, is have you spoken with a lender? Are you pre-approved? Because looking at a house without a pre-approval is like going to the store without any cash or credit cards.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can see everything you want, but you can't put it in your basket and you can't walk out and buy it. It's a waste of your time, honestly. And so I always tell first-time home buyers, let's get you approved, because there's a couple of things that are super important with that pre-approval. Number one, it shows the sellers your ability to buy, right? If you can't buy a house, then why am I going to accept your offer? Number two, it shows what payments you're going to be at, how much down payments you'll need. It gives you sort of the inner workings of what it's going to take, and your credit, all of these things. Because if you come to me, Lucas, and say, I want to buy, but I've only been working for 3 months, I've got a 400 credit score, I don't have any money down, but I want to look at these 6 houses, I'm not going to be able to help you, and you can't help yourself, right? So always putting the cart before the horse is not a good idea. So you want to get that pre-approval first. And there's a lot of great programs. So circling back to how much money down, we've got programs available here where you don't have to put any money down. New Mexico has some really great first-time buyer programs. MFA, which is a financial assistance loan, well, they'll help you with your down payment. So sometimes you can get into a house with no money down. It is very possible. And it runs the gamut from first-time home buyers to investors, where investors think they have to put a bunch of money down, 20% typically. And there's a lot of loan products out there that you don't even have to come up with that much money, if any. So the loan is certainly a very important aspect of purchasing.
Okay. Makes sense. So we're looking at what, 2 years, probably 2 years of employment minimum, I think, right? It's kind of the rule of thumb.
Yeah, it's the rule of thumb, but I do have clients, like, let's say you were a mechanic at the Subaru dealership, and then you went to the Infiniti dealership, but you've been a mechanic for 5 years, you've changed your job a year ago, that 5-year job time counts, not just the fact that you've had that 1 year at that one location. Typically, though, 2 years is what most banks are looking for. But again, there are lenders out there, and I know a lot of them that'll do it with just 1 year.
Okay, so if it makes sense, right? The bank statements and everything, right?
Yep.
And
Money down, a credit score, cosigner.
And the income, of course, right? The combined income or your income, right? Makes sense. Okay. Let's get more towards that. I kind of want to get more personal, I guess, with, on our side of things. What is it on your end? What is an average household income? What are we looking at these days that you're seeing that's coming in the door and that's buying a home today?
That's a good question, because I deal with a lot of everything. So I sold $1 million house a month and a half ago. Their income is very different than the $180,000 house or mobile home that we sold earlier this year. The average house in Albuquerque is about $360,000 to $375,000. I believe, and don't quote me because I'm not a lender, but for me, the average income, if your household is somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 combined, most banks will be able to work with that, depending on credit, income, job time. If you're getting assistance from the lender, the special MFA loans, different things. But that's what I'm seeing as entry level, and that is not typical for everything. There's some variance there. If you're looking at purchasing maybe a piece of land up in Edgewood and putting a modular home on that, you can get approved for that with much less down. So it's dependent upon each situation. I think that's really important too, Lucas, is customizing every deal for every client is super important, because it's like a fingerprint. It's so specific to everyone individually. You can customize your lending, where you're buying, what you're buying, and that's just conventionally. There's things called real estate contracts, called owner financing. That's an outside of the box way to get into a house too. I have a property that I'm selling right now on owner financing, and if somebody came to me with 5 or 10% down, I'd probably consider it. So there's a lot of different ways that we can help clients, that clients can be served.
I love it. And speaking on, again, experience in different areas, right? I'm sure you've been familiar with Santa Fe. Los Lunas, right? Moriarty,
Sure.
right? East Mountains. We talked about this maybe out west, right? Grants and so forth. Can we talk about that? Yeah, I mean, you kind of,
Sure.
right? Because you've had experience in all these areas, right? And I think that's crucial, in general too, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all different, like you said.
Yeah, and most of those are in our MLS, our multiple listing service. Santa Fe is its own. Santa Fe is different, so we know it's its own. But yeah, areas down south, Socorro, and the East Mountains, Moriarty, Edgewood, Los Lunas. Yeah, it's just such an open space that we have here in the middle of our state, and we can service. Actually, I'm licensed to service all of New Mexico. Every licensed realtor in New Mexico is. However, I don't recommend it. For example, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm looking for a place in Santa Fe, and I've sold houses in Santa Fe, but I generally will partner up with a Santa Fe broker because the market's very different there than it is here. The market's very different in Socorro or Moriarty, even Los Lunas, than it is here. Now, I'm a lot more familiar with those because they're in my MLS and I can use comps, I can use data to help me help them. But in the Santa Fe or Farmington or Las Cruces, those MLSs I don't have access to. I don't have the data that will help me help them. So I'll partner up with someone who's an expert in that area to best serve the client.
That could be probably some of your agents, though. I was going to lead to that, right? Is you probably have some of your agents are particularly better in certain areas, right, than others. That's their territory per se, probably, right?
Kinda, yeah. Like my team is we're pretty like we take leads just about anywhere within our area. But like I have a gentleman on my team who's getting licensed in Santa Fe because he's from Santa Fe, and so we'll have somebody in Santa Fe to help and service our clients. But if somebody asks me today, right now, and this happens all the time, hey, I'm looking in Santa Fe, can you help me? I can show you some houses, but when it comes to moving forward, I'm going to get you with one of my partner agents up there who really know the market, who've lived there, who've been selling houses there and helping people buy houses because it serves the clients better to get them with someone who's really educated in that specific area.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also the experience and knowing also, I guess to talk about is you can get the better deal for your clients also, right? It seems to be asking price is never the price that it sells at, right? Typically.
Depends
Sometimes.
if it's COVID or not.
There you go.
Yeah.
Those days are rare, but right in
yeah.
a normal market, it seems like, I've noticed that a good agent not only finds you what you want, but also, right, is competitive for you, right? Or knows even that other agent, right? The selling agent, and you guys can negotiate well. That's what I've noticed.
It's so huge. The relationships, and not the relationship with my client, the relationships that I have and build with other realtors is essential for not just my success, but for the success of my clients. Because for me to say, oh, I've done a deal with this person before, or I know this person because I served with them on the board of directors, or I know this person because they were on a committee, like I know this person. I have made deals that would normally go south, go through for both sides because of the relationship that I have with the other realtor. We work harder and more collaboratively, where sometimes it can be contentious. Like there's egos in anything, and there's certainly egos in real estate. So if I run into someone that has a big ego and I don't know them, it might be a little bit more challenging to get a deal done than someone with the big ego that I do know because we know each other. So those relationships are super huge. Talking about working the best deal, that's one of my duties as a licensed realtor is to negotiate in my client's best interest. Generally, I feel like my client's best interest is to spend as little as they can, but still get the property. But I come with data, and I think that's the most important piece of it. Most houses right now in Albuquerque are selling for pretty close to what their list price is. I think we're at 96% as of today. 96% of list price, so they're coming down about 3 to 4%, which is not that bad. It's not that much. 2 years ago they weren't. They were selling above. 3 years ago they were selling considerably above asking price. But what I do with my data is this is the neighborhood. These are the houses that are for sale. This is how much they're selling for. This is what they're selling this house for. Let's look at what's comparable about our neighborhood. Because it's really important to be focalized when you're doing a comparable market analysis. That helps me help them know if they're priced right, if they're priced too much, if they're priced too little. At least give them an idea. And there's a lot of factors about that. Like if this house is super nice and completely updated and remodeled, yeah, maybe it should go above average. If this house is a piece of junk and needs a lot of work, it should probably be factored into the price of that home. But I think a realtor's responsibility is to give data to clients and let them make the decision. So that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, I'm here to give you as much data as I can. You're the boss. You tell me what to do. Whatever you want is what I'll do. And I'm going to give you my opinion, and you don't have to like it, and you don't have to take it. But I'm going to give you data. I'm going to give you evidence to give you the tools you can to make the best decision you can moving forward.
Yeah, I love it. Also, on that note, when is a good time to buy? Or I'm sorry, when is it a good time to sell? And when is it a good time to rent that property? What if you already have a house, maybe two, right? You're thinking about selling them or just getting into another house. Mm-hmm. Is it a good idea to hold on to these? Just rent them out?
I'm a little different than most realtors. And the reason why is because I'm also an investor, and I believe in generational wealth. A lot of clients come to me and like, should we sell this house or should we buy it? Well, situationally is very important. Like, okay, well, do you need the money and the equity in this house to purchase another one? Like, so it's very personalized based on what that client's looking for, what they need, what they can get approved for, all these things. But if they don't necessarily need to sell the house, then I definitely recommend at least toying with the idea of turning it into a long-term, medium-term, or short-term rental. Because that is building generational wealth, and that is allowing them to use the equity in the rental property in the future to help whatever they need help with. So it's certainly situational. I always try to help my clients with the investment mentality. Like if you can keep it and don't have to sell it and are okay with the idea of renting it, whether that's getting a property manager or managing it yourself, if it's turning it into a short-term rental where you've got it on Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com, and that's one thing that you're interested in doing or you want that as another income source, I can help you with all of that. In the end, the majority of my clients say, I just want to sell this house, take that equity, turn it into the other one, and I absolutely can help with that too.
Great. I love it. I love it. Oh, man. The game's changed, right, since 98.
So different. It is so different.
Crazy, man.
It's so different. And, there's so many different avenues that weren't available for income-producing properties, investment specifically, and pricing too.
Yeah, right? Jeez. Crazy. So you're an investor, and speaking on that, you're a mentor too, and you mentor other investors, correct?
I do. Mm-hmm.
How's that work? How do you find the time? Do you have to, I guess you have the agents now, right? That kind of, I guess, hedge probably your real estate as far as the sales side go, but as far as that side goes, that's you one-on-one?
That is me one-on-one. It's something I'm passionate about. I think if you're passionate about something, you just find the time to do it. When somebody comes to me, if it's a family or if it's Lucas, somebody your age is like, I just want to build I just like the hustle, like whatever the reasons are, it gets me juiced, it gets me excited, it gets me amped. Like, okay, cool, let's put a game plan together. Okay, where are we at now? Are you renting right now? Are you purchasing? Do you have a family? Do you want to buy a fourplex, move into one of the units, rent out the other three, and get that going for a year or two, and then moving out of that, having somebody else move there, and then buying yourself another one and rinse and repeating that. There's so many different avenues for real estate investment, residentially speaking, that I sort of just go over the options and customize it to what the client wants, what they think they want, and tell them the positives and negatives of each style, because short-term rentals aren't for everybody. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Like, you've got to be on top of the management, on top of the cleaning, on top of the reviews, making sure you provide an excellent experience for your client, the taxes. Like, there's some stuff about it, but the return on investment is better than just saying, here's your monthly rent. Go ahead and take care of it. people take care of the house better with the short-term rental too, because they want good reviews. So like I had somebody move out of one of my places yesterday on Sunday, and I went by yesterday and like, yeah, I'm going to have to put about, $3,000 to $5,000 into this property because they didn't take care of it. If it was a short-term rental, when it was a short-term rental, I never had any issues ever. Like it was always like, looked like I'd put my mom in there for the night. My mom's pretty picky, and I know it'd be okay. So there's different things, and I bring all of these up to my potential investor clients as positives and negatives, and kind of from there we sort of track what might feel best for them. And then we talk about lending, we talk about other avenues, whether it's pulling equity out of the current property that you own or getting an investment type loan called a DSCR, where as long as the rents cover the mortgage, the debt service coverage ratio loan, DSCR loan, they don't even have to come up with a lot of money down oftentimes. So there's a lot of different investment vehicles that get customized based on what the client's looking to do.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What was I going to talk about too? Oh yeah, what are we looking at now? Say I have a house, right, and I want you to manage it. What's the fee? What's the points these days? The percentage?
Yeah, awesome. Great question. I am not a property manager. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay.
I manage my own properties. I charge myself nothing. I should charge myself more because I really work hard. But if you go to most property managers, the rates are between 7 and 12%. This is for long-term rental, and it depends. Price point depends on a lot of things. Some managers will just get somebody in there. Some managers will manage the whole property. Some managers will defer to you. So the variance is generally between 7 and 12% a month of the rent for long-term. Short-term varies a lot more than that. Short-term requires a lot more management. Most short-term rental companies charge between 18 and 25%. Depending on how much they do, what they do. Some go as low as 10%. Like I've got my co-leader for Airbnb here in New Mexico, the New Mexico community. He only charges 10%, but he only does the marketing and the booking. He doesn't do anything once they're in the house. So if there's an issue, it goes to you or a different manager. If there's cleaning, like he doesn't do, that's not part of it. So that's like basically I'm getting your house booked. And getting it booked by someone who's legit, like a good, solid person to stay there. But then, I know people that charge up to 22% that do everything, like just hands off. Like, here you go, here's my property, get me a bunch of money, and they can go all the way up to 22%.
Wow. Geez, so it's still it's a renter's market still, right? I mean, there's money there to be made, right? Even if don't want to sell the house and get the big chunk of money, right? It's still a good move to rent.
Albuquerque, according to the New Mexico Apartment Association, Albuquerque is the #1 rental increase in the nation. It's over 100,000 population for the last 27 months. It's our rentals have increased pretty significantly. I think we're seeing that actually come back a little bit. I know I'm seeing it in some of my rentals that we were charging $1,400 a month. Now we're dropping it to $1,300 to $1,250 to $1,200. So the market dictates saturation points. So if there's too many houses and not enough renters, the price is going to go down. If there's too many renters, not enough houses, the price is going to go up. So, but it is. I do really well with rentals, and I enjoy helping people find places to live, whether it's on a short-term basis, a medium-term basis for like people in the movie industry that are here for a couple months, or nurses, furnish finders, nurse finders, or long-term renters. So all of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and then back to what I was saying, right? It seems like this is one of those last big boom towns, those opportunities, right, to get in. Because like you said, it seems like the waters have kind of evened out, right? Yep. We've seen them kind of peak up. We've seen them come down, I think, naturally, right? What are we looking at, like 275, 3, right, for the homes? They're not skyrocketed anymore. I think
a little more than that, but yeah.
someone was telling me it kind of reminds them of Phoenix, like how Phoenix was back in the 70s and 80s, right, before they kind of got their big pop. I mean, maybe not the same, right? We don't have the same ecosystem there, but I think we could be looking at a potential. We could be that last smallest big city.
I've been saying that for quite a while now because I feel exactly the same way. If you look at what prices are going for in Scottsdale or Austin or Denver, Colorado Springs, even Tucson. The home prices are significantly higher than they are here, and Albuquerque's been pretty steady. We've been growing over the last 40 years at a 4 to 5% clip annually, more or less. Obviously COVID took that to a new high water mark. We were at about a 250,000 a house back in 2000, and then in 2023 that went up to 350, and right now we're hovering in the 360s, 370s for the average price, median price. So it's gone up quite a bit, but the same house in Colorado Springs, and my brother just bought in Colorado Springs, is $550,000 for the same 2,000 square foot house in an average neighborhood. Jeez. Where that house here would be 375.
Yeah.
So, I hope so. I own a lot of property here, so it'd be great if this became a boom. But and there's reasons why it should. Our climate.
I was just going to say that, right? We don't have any harsh climate. Right. And I'm not just talking storms, right? I'm saying humidity too, right?
That's right.
Structurally speaking, right? Everything's sound, nice and dry.
Right. Who wants to be in 120 degree Phoenix weather,
Or in New Orleans humidity, there's so many places. I think there's just so many potential clients, right? Or homeowners that are going to come from outside naturally.
I sure hope so. We did see that in COVID. We saw a lot of people moving here because the work remote situation happened, and they were getting paid, San Diego dollars to live in New Mexico, and they were paying cash for $300,000 houses, and bought another one, and just in cash. And that was, that kind of hurt a little bit because of our inventory, which was already low. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here. We need to get the right government in place, and we need to get more business-friendly sort of mentality, growth mentality. It's interesting you brought up Phoenix in the 70s. In 1960, the population of Phoenix and the population of Atlanta and the population of Albuquerque was roughly the same, 60,000 people. If you fast forward to now, Phoenix has 4.5 million people, Atlanta close to the same. Albuquerque's still under 1 million. What happened between 1960 and today that caused these huge booms in these similar cities in a population and size? I don't know. I do know my thoughts about the answer to that, but the reality is I think you're right. I think there's a lot of room for growth here. I think we just need to get the right business minds to move our state forward.
Yeah, I think there's a few thoughts on that, but one I've always heard was they wanted to keep it a retirement community here. They stunted it on purpose because there was a lot of retirement options out here for think about that. Yeah, and even being in the service industry myself for a little bit, right, and being out in a lot of homes, right, Santa Fe and Rio Rancho and some of these, there is a lot of people from back east, right, that come out here that are retired, bring that big money out here, and they live nice.
Yeah.
So I think, they wanted it to keep it that way. So that way those people could come, right? And there's a nice retirement community. But I think it eventually, like you said, though, it's going to boom. Eventually, right, it'll fill in. Where the levee will break, and it'll fill in because you start having all these people from out of town come in and buying homes, right? And like we were talking about, new families every day. We're not, this whole talk about we don't have the population, right? We're not having kids. What are we saying here? Last time I checked, there's more high schools being built, right? Yeah. There's not less high schools these days. When I was in high school, there's more high schools. Right. There's more kids graduating, and there's more kids starting families and having kids, right? And that's what it is. They're gonna want somewhere to have their own, to own, right? And start a family. So I think that it's going to happen. This is it.
I hope so. I'm in love with New Mexico, camping, fishing, skiing, looking at our sunsets, walking in the foothills or along the bosque. It's just so beautiful here. And it's, I'm ashamed that we're not seen in a better light, Because I think like when you talk, when I travel the world and, you know, we talk about Albuquerque and people are like, Albuquerque. And I'm like, Breaking Bad. Like, oh, Albuquerque. And Breaking Bad was great for us, but the perception of our city was not a positive one because it was, you know, drug infused. And I think that sort of mentality is pervasive. Like, I think people that aren't in our city, people that are in other states, think Albuquerque is. And the publications that go out there that we're the most dangerous city in the, you know, in the country, and like, you know, one of the top 10 crime ridden, like all that negative press, all that negative publicity is just really, really damaging to the idea of people moving here. And I, you know, it's crazy because I have people in my Airbnbs that come here because they got a graduation or a wedding or a death, or, you know, they would never come here otherwise. And, you know, I talk to these people and I'm like, well, what did you think? And like, we were very surprised. This is very common. We were very surprised because we thought that it was going to be unsafe. You know, we looked at like your place. I've got a place in Nob Hill, and they're like, we heard that Central was really unsafe, and like, but you know, your place was really cute, so we thought we'd just give it a try. You know, I brought my pepper spray and like the crazy stories, and I'm like, well, what do you think? Like, it is amazing. Like the sunsets were beautiful. Like we went up to the tram. It was incredible. Like all of these things that they saw, that they experienced, they fell in love with our city, and those are the stories that I want to publicize. Those are the stories that I want to get out there. Those are the stories that the country needs to see, the world needs to see, because this place is enchanted. And we've got our share of problems that we need to freaking fix.
I would say, yeah, I'll say this. You know, I'm not trying to talk, you know, negatively about anything, you know, but I've been around my fair share of parts of the country, you know. And I'd say this, yeah, we don't have any racial agendas. We don't really have any heavy politics, right, that lean one way or the other. We're not, you know, you come with manners and you're good, right? I was born and raised here. Born and raised at Press, Maine, right? Off Central. So you know, I've never really had any issues. Sure, you're gonna. Everyone gets their car broken into once. I don't care where you live, right? That's gonna happen. What are we doing here?
Right, and you might run into someone who's had a bad day and they cut you off. Like that happens everywhere in the world.
But you know, I think we have some of the most friendliest community, right? And you know, the culture here is beautiful. You know, and we're getting more of it. It seems like every day, like we just talked about, we get more and more people moving here all the time. You know, it's what's there not to like? We got so many Texans here now, so many Californians, you know. I think this is the new spot.
Well, I hope you're right, because that means my retirement's coming sooner than later. So,
hey, man. Well, Shane, thank you so much, man, for coming down and talking. I think we got a lot of good points there.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. You know? It was great coming in, and I appreciate you having me on. It's a real honor to be here. So, thank you.